Most viewers watched that clip and moved on. Nobody caught what Kimmel actually did in the 14 seconds of silence before he spoke. Kimmel's hand came down flat on the desk. The clip was still playing on the monitor behind him. Trump's voice, live from the White House South Lawn, delivering a war ultimatum beside an Easter bunny. They'll have no bridges, no power plants, no anything. While a brass band looped something cheerful in the background. The monitor cut. The studio went quiet. Kimmel looked at his audience for 14 seconds without speaking. Not a pause. Not a setup for a punchline. Something slower than that. Something harder to name. To understand how the show arrived at that 14-second silence, you have to go back to Easter Sunday. And the Truth Social post that made the whole week feel like a controlled detonation. April 5th, 2026, Easter Sunday, 9:17 a.m. The post arrived on Truth Social, in all capitals. No greeting, no preamble. Trump warned Iranian officials to open the Strait of Hormuz or face consequences. His exact closing line, "Open the Strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah." That line went everywhere before breakfast. Democratic lawmakers issued statements. Republican allies went quiet. Marjorie Taylor Greene said Trump had gone insane. Former colleagues, current officials, foreign governments, everyone reached for language and came up short. Trump, asked about the post hours later, said he had used the words only to make my point. He added, with visible calm, "I think you've heard it before." He then noted that he believed God supported the war with Iran and suggested he deserved the Nobel Peace Prize. April 7th, 2026, White House South Lawn, 10:42 a.m. The 2026 Easter egg roll was built around a patriotic theme. America's 250th birthday, 40,000 eggs, a brass band, baby chicks, children in colorful outfits. The Easter Bunny in full costume, stationed to the president's left. Melania Trump addressed the crowd first. "We are celebrating a very special Easter egg roll this year because it is the 250th birthday of this beautiful nation. Enjoy it." Then Trump approached the reporters. What followed is now described by Kimmel himself as maybe the most preposterous moments in White House Easter egg roll history. Trump stood beside the Easter Bunny and told reporters that the United States had a plan under which every bridge and every power plant in Iran could be destroyed by midnight tomorrow. He dismissed concerns that bombing civilian infrastructure would constitute a war crime. He argued instead that allowing Iran to obtain nuclear weapons would be the real war crime. He then celebrated the reduction in egg prices over the past year. The band kept playing. The children kept running across the lawn. Trump, still beside the bunny, declared the United States would be obliterating that country. He mused aloud that his personal preference was to simply take Iran's oil and make a substantial profit. Then he moved to the crowd of children gathered on the grass and told them about Joe Biden using an auto pen. "It was all Donald talking about auto pen and fake news with 4-year-olds, Kimmel said later. Kimmel also noted that at one specific moment during the speech, Trump appeared to entirely forget Melania was standing beside him. Turning past her mid-sentence, looking back at the crowd, then turning again as if recalibrating. The cameras caught it. Kimmel replayed it twice. April 7th, Late Show Studio, El Capitan Theater, Hollywood, 11:05 p.m. Kimmel returned from a week's absence. He opened by noting it felt like a year had passed, and then cataloged why. Pam Bondi had been dismissed as Attorney General. A rumor had circulated all weekend that Trump had been hospitalized at Walter Reed because he had not appeared publicly from Wednesday through Sunday. The Artemis II astronauts had reached the far side of the moon. And somewhere in the middle of all that, the president had issued a war ultimatum on Easter Sunday, then presided over a children's egg hunt while discussing the obliteration of a country. Kimmel read Trump's Truth Social post aloud, verbatim, every word. He then asked the audience to take an inventory. "Let's take an inventory," he said, "of what was on that lawn on Monday morning. The Easter Bunny, 40,000 eggs, baby chicks, children in patriotic outfits, a brass band playing a celebratory loop, the First Lady reading an Easter book, and a sitting president beside all of it, describing the destruction of bridges and power plants and the seizure of a nation's oil reserves. That inventory," Kimmel said, pausing, "only points in one direction." He held the pause. The studio didn't cheer. One person laughed and then stopped, as though catching themselves. 2 rows back, a woman pressed her hand briefly over her mouth. The camera caught it. Kimmel let the moment stretch. Then he said, "He's the only president who teases a bombing the same way ABC promotes episodes of Will Trent." The studio came apart. Not because the line was the funniest thing said that night. It wasn't. It came apart because the release had been building since the inventory, since the read aloud, since the clip of the brass band playing behind the war announcement. The laugh wasn't about the joke, it was about everything that had been pressing down on the room since Kimmel walked out and started talking, and the inventory line was where the pressure finally found a door. He said Iran could be taken out by midnight tomorrow, Kimmel continued, straightening. But he didn't specify if that's our tomorrow or their tomorrow. Beat. He could start a world war over a time zone error, another beat. Things are running like a Swiss watch, folks. The studio settled. Kimmel's voice dropped slightly, the register shift that his audience has learned to read as the signal that what comes next will not be a punchline. He pulled up Trump's series of rolling deadlines on Iran, the 48-hour threats that kept shifting, the Tuesday deadlines that became Wednesday deadlines, the ultimatums accumulating without resolution. He laid them out in sequence: date, statement, outcome, the way a prosecutor lays documents on a table, one at a time, letting each one breathe before placing the next. Then he said quietly, the inventory doesn't shrink. It grows. Every day the inventory grows, and the denial on the other side doesn't produce a single document, not one. The studio was still. Kimmel wrapped by highlighting Trump's Truth Social response to Kimmel's own segment, a post that arrived at 2:14 a.m., capital letters increasing, exclamation marks stacking, every sentence longer and angrier than the one before it. He read it aloud with the same flat patience he'd read the original Easter Sunday post. Same voice, same cadence, no embellishment. If your grandfather sent this, Kimmel said, folding the paper, you'd have him straight to the emergency room, right? Straight there. No detour. The studio went quiet again, not the productive quiet of a punchline landing, the other kind, the kind that follows something that is true and everyone in the room knows it and nobody knows what to do with knowing it. Kimmel looked at the camera. I find it very comforting to know those hands are on the wheel of this country. He held the look for 3 seconds. Then the show moved on. The clip did not. By the following morning, it had been segmented into 7 independent pieces. The inventory sequence alone sharing more than 4 million times across platforms. Not because it was comedy, because it was a mirror held up to something real. At the exact moment, the reflection had become impossible to look away from. People who had never watched the show shared it with a caption that asked the same question Kimmel's 14-second silence had asked first. Did this just happen? Subscribe right now and turn on notifications. The next confrontation is already building, and once you see what's coming, you'll understand why silence is always louder than power.